biggest mistake I made during my exchange year in Japan was borrowing my roommate's hairbrush. At the time, it felt harmless. Honestly, I even thought she was being thoughtful. I was studying abroad in Kyoto during the spring of 2022, staying in a private international student dorm near the quieter northern side of the city. The dorm itself was old but clean. Shared kitchen, narrow hallways, tiny rooms with bunk beds and thin curtains separating each side. My roommate's name was Emmy. She barely spoke during our first few weeks together. Not rude, just quiet. Emmy had long, straight black hair that almost reached her waist, pale skin, and a slim figure. She always looked unusually neat, even late at night. Most days she wore oversized sweaters and listened to music quietly by the window whenever it rained. Nothing about her immediately felt strange. I'm from Oregon originally, so I figured maybe she was simply shy around foreigners. She mostly kept to herself, spent hours sketching in notebooks, and stayed awake much later than I did. Sometimes I'd wake up around 2 or 3 a.m. and see her sitting by the window in the dark, just listening to rain with headphones on. At first, I actually found it comforting. Then little things started happening. Nothing serious enough to complain about. Just strange. I'd noticed my drawer slightly open after class. My socks moved around. One time my phone charger disappeared for 2 days and then reappeared folded neatly beside my pillow. Emmy always apologized politely whenever I brought anything up. Too politely. Like she'd bow slightly and say sorry before I even fully explained what was missing. But the thing that really bothered me happened in May. I had a date that evening with another exchange student named Daniel. We were already running late because I overslept after finals week, and while getting ready, I realized my hairbrush was gone. I searched everywhere. Under the bed, bathroom shelves, laundry basket, nothing. I remember getting increasingly stressed because my hair was still damp from showering, and Daniel was already texting me that he had arrived downstairs. The entire time, Emmy quietly watched me from her desk. Then she suddenly stood up and walked to her side of the room. She opened one of her drawers and handed me her own hairbrush. What immediately struck me was how clean it looked. Almost too clean. No tangled hair, no dust. Nothing caught between the bristles. I hesitated and told her I'd rather not use someone else's brush, but she smiled slightly and said, "It's okay, you can use mine." I remember brushing my hair quickly while standing near the mirror. Since my hair was blonde and much lighter than hers, a few strands immediately got stuck between the bristles. When I finished, I started pulling the hair out to clean it before giving it back. But the moment I touched the strands, Emmy moved unusually fast. She took the brush from my hand almost immediately, too quickly, like she didn't want me touching the hair anymore. Then she just smiled politely and said, "I'll clean it later." At the time, I ignored how strange that felt. I wish I hadn't. That night, when I returned to the dorm around midnight, Emmy was awake in bed but pretending to sleep. I only realized because her eyes were slightly open, watching me. I still remember the exact feeling I got. Not fear exactly, just discomfort, like walking into a conversation that stopped the moment you entered. And the weirdest part? My missing hairbrush had suddenly reappeared, sitting neatly on my desk exactly where I normally kept it. After that, things became harder to ignore. I'd wake up and find Emmy standing near my side of the room, claiming she thought I was awake already. Twice, I caught her staring at me while I slept. Not glancing, staring. One night, I woke up suddenly around 3 a.m. because I felt someone touching my hair. When I opened my eyes, Emmy quickly sat back on her bed, pretending to look at her phone. I asked what she was doing. She laughed quietly and said, "Your hair looked pretty in moonlight." I didn't sleep much after that. A few days later, while Emmy was showering, I noticed one of her storage boxes partially open beneath her desk. I know I shouldn't have looked, but by then, I genuinely felt uneasy around her. Inside the box were dozens of photographs, not printed photos, Polaroids, mostly of me, sleeping, studying, eating at my desk, brushing my hair. Some were clearly taken inside the room while I wasn't aware. Underneath the photos were other things, a missing sock, an old receipt with my handwriting, tiny folded tissues containing strands of blonde hair, and the brush she lent me that night. The same perfectly clean brush, except now it wasn't clean anymore. Several blonde strands were still carefully wrapped around the bristles. Mine, mixed together with several long, straight black strands of Emmy's hair. All of it tied carefully together with red thread, but there was something else too. Small, folded pieces of paper, covered in handwritten Japanese characters. I couldn't read most of it, but one line was written repeatedly in English. "Stay beside me." Over and over. I heard the shower upstairs stop. That's when panic fully hit me. I shoved everything back into the box exactly how I found it, grabbed my backpack, and left the dorm immediately. I spent the night at Daniel's apartment and contacted the dorm office the next morning, requesting an emergency room transfer. I never directly accused Emmy of anything because technically, nothing violent ever happened. But when staff entered our room with me later that day, her storage box was completely empty. Every photo, every paper, every item, gone. Emmy herself was calm the entire time, almost emotionless. She simply apologized to the staff for making me uncomfortable, then bowed politely. I moved out 2 days later, and honestly, I tried convincing myself afterward that maybe I overreacted. Until about 3 months later, I was packing luggage to return home when I found something hidden inside the inner pocket of my suitcase. A small folded tissue paper. Inside were several strands of blonde hair, tied carefully together with long black strands using red thread. I freaked out the moment I saw the weird hair stuff. Even now, I still don't know if it was meant to be some kind of ritual, or if Emmy was simply deeply obsessed with me in a way I never fully understood. I threw the tissue paper into the nearest trash bin outside the station, and honestly tried not to think about it again. But for the rest of my exchange year, I never stayed alone in a dorm room after that. And to this day, whenever I accidentally leave personal things lying around near strangers, especially hairbrushes, I still get uncomfortable, remembering her staring at me in the dark while pretending I was asleep. I'm just grateful I realized something was wrong before things became worse.